I am so excited. We have Stacy with us today, and Shannon is still with us. I love having her here every day. So I'm just so excited. I guess we're just going to go ahead and get started. One of the things someone had asked about was, how do you feel our inner beliefs and self-talk shape our professional success? How can we start rewiring those beliefs to build confidence and reduce self-doubt?
I usually talk about it like you got to sneak up on your mind. Like you can't just be like,
Yes.
"Hi, we're changing our thoughts." Just be like, "Phew, no, we're not." Um, watch this. Um, I think re redoing the fabric of your brain is, I agree with Stacy, remarkably difficult. Like it is not an overnight process. I don't know that it ends. Like I'm not at the end, and I've been doing it for, I don't know, decades. But it's definitely worth it. I think the turn to self-compassion can be a really confronting one, especially for a lot of Americans, and especially if you were raised in highly prescriptive backgrounds. And that usually translates in a lot of criticism, blame, shame going on. It's a very negative, like, you're not going to bed, which means you're a terrible person and nothing good will ever happen. And, down the slide we go. And I kept getting the advice of like, you need to reparent yourself. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know how to do that. I don't have children, I have pets, you know. And I was like, so I took a gentle parenting course. And, they were like, why are you here? I'm like, well, inner kid, all that sort of stuff. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to parent. And I was blown away how kind they were recommending you be to children. I was just like, like you don't berate them because they don't go to bed. You're like, hey, let's make it fun. Why aren't you going to bed? Is it appropriate? Like, let's do the day. Oh, you're having big feelings. Those are big feelings. And I started translating that sort of gentle parenting approach or like kind compassion. I started following a lot of Kristen Neff's work on
Mm.
self-compassion because my brain likes evidence and it likes research. It's like, I want to see a study. And it's like, well, the studies do show that shame and blame, they work temporarily. They work in the short term. I can scare you to death into behavior. But if you want long-term results that are not so stressful and not so hard to do, you have to do that self-compassion piece. And it was, I would say it's life-changing. And I completely, started doing it with my clients. It was so much easier, life-changing for them as well. So I would say like it's a long process, but that switch into a kinder set of beliefs, like I don't, I have trouble going to bed. I am 51 and I still have trouble going to bed on time. And it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like, people aren't gonna, drop dead. Like like, well, yep, I went to bed too late last night. I will notice that and move on. Gives you better long-term results. So it kind of depends on what you want. Like if you want to use the scare tactics, you can do it. But especially if you're leading teams, um, especially very smart teams, that scare tactic stuff won't work with them. They're gonna work with that more compassionate set of beliefs. So. And I wanted to add on to something else. I think it's good to recognize if you're surrounded by people who are overly critical and they were just, for whatever reason, that's how they are. And everybody in your life is that way, your family, your partner, your friends. It's good to recognize that that's a really nearly impossible situation to always be, bright Susie Sunshine, just rise above. You'd have to be maybe delusional to make that work. But recognizing you're like, oh, I'm living in a sea of people that are really negative. What are the steps that I can take to start surrounding myself with support? Because once you shift your life, eventually, like you can get to a place where you're like, I don't really allow people in my life that are like that anymore. I'm like, you can be on the periphery. I can see you at the grocery store. That's fine. But you don't get to be in my inner life. It's much, much easier to start shifting those beliefs because you're surrounded by people that also think that and that lift you up. So really like noticing what the temperature is of your general life and do you want to change that? Do you want to start
Yeah.
shifting it? And sometimes it's just like following people on social media, getting in part of groups, things like that, is a good place to start.
So, how would you suggest maybe some tips that you have for that for fostering an environment of resilience, creativity, where everyone feels supported and empowered?
I would say, especially in a position of leadership, the leader sets the culture and the tone. And so
Mhm.
you can set the tone of create a creative workspace regardless of your industry. So I worked in tech. I was the head of all of the tech. And it's not a typically a big design space. Like they don't go to design school. They're don't, not from creative, they don't have the creative thing, but I have an arts degree. So I was just like, they were just like drive, 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 criticize, criticize. It was very counterproductive, I thought. And so switching that culture of just being like, oh, that's an interesting criticism. I want you to, write that down. Like that goes in the meeting at 4. We're going to go over here and just starting to redirect. And we're like, we're not doing, and not even, you don't even have to be so direct to saying we're not doing that. But sometimes if you've got somebody, one of your toxic people, like Ray said, where you're just like, you know what? Maybe that's a private discussion of like, I really appreciate your feedback, that that's not the time and place, or that's not the way, or we need an outlet for you, or um, and also as the leader, making sure people are they getting enough rest? Are they taking their vacations? Are they going to lunch? Are like there's a biological need that is required to be creative. You can't be exhausted and starving and overworked and produce amazing magical creative stuff. So I think in positions of leadership especially, it's important to foster that relationship in any industry. I just want to
Thank
say
you.
one last thing of people trying to create a culture of creativity. Expect a lot of pushback because it is revolutionary. Our culture teaches drive, work, when in doubt, work harder. Like sleep less, work harder, eat less, work more. And so when you start like adding in the creativity piece, it is a really revolutionary act for a lot of people to leave on time, go to bed, take a vacation, take a nap. Like you're just like these are really normal things, but the way most of us were raised, like it's actually very hard to do. So if you're struggling with it, like that's probably normal,
Yeah.
but worth it.
Yeah, worth it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for
Bye.
joining us.